Gonna thunder.
Of course it is.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I am Val Jean, and this is my world, at least the way I see it. If you are happy with the current situation in the U.S., please walk on by. This is not the place for you. If you are unhappy and you want to know what you can do about it, come on in, pull up a chair, get a drink, get a pencil and a piece of paper, because we will probably have homework. And joining me today is my cousin Michelle.
Hello, hello.
I made the statement. Do you have your mic close? Because you sound a little soft to me.
I can fix that very easily. Give me
And
just
while you're doing that, let me say, well, I can't say hi to you because you're already here. Dinky Jen, hi. So good to see you. Thank you for coming. Sam, good morning. Good morning. How are you? There's our other cousin, Shelley. Hello, hello. So good to see you. Last week, I made the statement that I did not care about all white towns. If they wanted to go sit in a little town all by themselves, I was good with it because at least I knew who the bigots were and where the bigots were. My cousin Michelle called me afterwards and said, "No, no, no, you don't want that." And then she proceeded to tell me why I didn't want that, and I'm sitting there going, "But and she says, "Okay, I don't have the baby. I have a time when I don't have the baby on Tuesday. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna tell everybody why they don't want this." And I'm like, "Okay, go for it. I'm all here for it." So we're going to start off with my dear darling daughter, who is, I don't know, she might be here shortly. She sent me this little blurb from Facebook, which encapsulates my whole stance on the subject. Let me see if I can. And of course, I'm over here on Facebook, so things are going to go so much smoother for me. Um, and Michelle can also share her screen, though she tells me there's nothing on her screen that she wants to share. It's up to her. So let me make sure I have this little lady up. No, I don't. Here we go. This is a little lady, and the link for this is in the description. But I want to give her the whole screen. There we go. And if I make her big, then I can't get to the other tab. Let's try this. Yeah, I know I'm talking to myself. You all know how I roll. That's not going to work either. Let me see. I must have something playing in the background because I hear voices. No, I don't hear voices. Was that you, Michelle?
no, I promise I haven't said a word till just now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
That's
just
me echoing. Hold
that.
on. Let me go in here and see if I can fix that. I should have echo cancellation on. If not, I'll go get my headphones real quick.
Okay.
Uh, audio. Yeah, my echo can't. Okay, let me turn it off. Okay, am I still echoing?
I think you were only echoing with you.
Do you still hear it? Dinky Jen says you're quiet, Michelle. Michelle, do you hear me echoing?
No.
Okay, does anybody else hear me echoing? You like Shorty's real name? Yeah, I am. Hold on, everybody. Michelle, I'm going to give you the screen for a minute while I go and uh
Okay. There is not much for me to say because I am in the background. And what I will say is, I'm enjoying the chat. I'm going to remind you guys, of course, if you haven't already done so, to please hit like. It really does push her out into the algorithm a little bit more. And that's important right now because safe spaces for us to be able to talk openly and honestly about where we are politically is important. And in case you hadn't noticed, our government isn't being too kind to people who don't agree with exactly what they say. So it's all the more important that we make sure that we are supporting safe spaces to have safe conversations. So forgive me, I am also looking at the. Oh, there I am. Hi. And the funny part is, I've seen that video, so I know what she's going to say, but it's important that it be heard. Hello, Pip. And for those of you that don't know, Pip is pretty in pink. And
You
Sam
can't hear
said,
me
I
if I'm
agree.
not up there. I
Oh, that's
agree with
fine.
you, Michelle. All white, all black, all Chinese, all anything societies is not the way to go. At best, it creates division and ignorance. At worst, racism. Okay. What's the B for?
I
I
don't know.
missed something. PIB? I don't know.
Pretty in pink.
Oh, you all know I'm too literal sometimes.
That's
Okay.
okay. We respect it. Now I'm echoing in your sound. Turn the volume down on your device.
Me?
You.
How's that?
I don't know. I still hear me. That's okay. I can ignore me. I've heard me before.
Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only.
Okay.
So weird watching black people get mad at white people for starting functioning white communities. It's like, you know how happy we'd be to see black people start a functioning black community? Like we would leave you to it. We would be, oh my goodness, good for you guys.
History says otherwise. Every time Black Americans built thriving, independent towns, white racists didn't celebrate it. They bombed it. They burned it down or they buried them under lakes. Greenwood, Tulsa, Black Wall Street. Greenwood wasn't just doing well, it was booming. Doctors, lawyers, pilots, banks, theaters, luxury shops. White racists couldn't stand to see Black excellence thrive on its own terms. So in 1921, they dropped bombs, set fires, murdered people in the streets. Survivors said they saw white neighbors wearing their stolen clothes the next day. Rosewood, Florida. Rosewood had two-story homes, a school, a post office, businesses. A lie about a white woman led to a massacre. White mobs destroyed the whole town. Oscarville, Georgia, now Lake Lanier. Black farmers owned land, made money, raised families. White residents didn't like that. So in 1912, they terrorized every Black person out of town. Decades later, the whole community was flooded to build Lake Lanier. Their homes are still at the bottom. Unica Village, NYC, now Central Park. This was a stable, middle class neighborhood. Black families owned land, voted, and lived free. Then the city tore it down to build a park. The land is now worth hundreds of millions. The original owners got nothing. Polaja in Susanna, Alabama, now Lake Martin. Polaja had its own school, businesses, and even a railroad. Susanna had homes, churches, and deep roots. Both towns were drowned, literally, under Lake Martin to build a hydroelectric project. And today, people jet ski over the bones of a Black legacy. Vanport, Oregon, built during World War II. It was one of the only places Black people could live due to racist housing laws. In 1948, officials intentionally failed to warn Black residents about rising floodwaters. When the dike broke, a wall of water wiped out Vanport in a single day. Over 18,000 residents were displaced. These towns were thriving, innovative, self-sufficient Black communities. And every single time, that success was met with white rage, jealousy, and destruction. Over 200 Black towns destroyed by mobs, policy, bulldozers, and floods. This country never minded Black poverty. It fears Black prosperity.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard.
Hello. That's my stand on it. But my dear darling cousin Michelle has the opposite side. So
Not the
we're gonna let
opposite.
her explain it to us. You
It's
have the floor.
it's not the opposite. It is actually I agree with her, except what your statement was is you agree with them having these towns as separate and that it'll be okay. It has never been okay for excellence in the black community to occur. And they've shown that to us by what they've done to the Native Americans. They stole their land. They said, "Oh, we'll compensate you. We will give you these encampments, as it really is. We'll give you land. This is yours. It's untouchable. We'll never take it." But they don't expect them to come off that property. It's like, this is your circle. Stay in that bubble. If you come off of it, we will kill you. Oh, we won't compensate you for what we've taken from you. We will not make you whole. We will not give you services. The little check we give you is pennies on the dollar for what we owe you. But that's just the Native Americans. Let's talk some facts here. One of their statements, as far as this all white town or all white community that they're trying to build, is it's okay. Okay, we both have an echo, by the way. Um, it's okay if you all build black communities. We'll leave you alone. No, you won't. Proof of it, you heard her mention the Rosewood Massacre. I did a little, my question, because of course, when I have a question, I go to the resources. My question was, how many families were financially compensated for the loss of life, land, and property in Rosewood, Tulsa, and East St. Louis? Those are just three of the many places that thriving upper echelon African American communities existed that we watched the subsect of this country destroyed. And this is what Jim and I came back with. In Rosewood, Florida, in 1994, Florida state legislature passed a bill providing reparations for the victims of the 1923 Rosewood Massacre. The bill granted a lump sum of $150,000 to 9 of the survivors at that time. Descended families received smaller sums of money, with some getting more than $2,000. I want you to think about, number one, if you're the grandchild or the great grandchild of somebody who happened to be a doctor in Rosewood at that time. Yes, we're talking about a massacre. Multiples, as in hundreds of people slaughtered, killed, homes and property burned and destroyed. It costs more than $2,000 today to put somebody 6 feet into the ground. But $2,000 in 1994 was supposed to fix the embarrassing, and they called it reparations. It wasn't reparations. It was hush money, as in shut the H up, go away, and sit down. We don't want to hear from your black anymore. I said what I said. But we're not done. Because, of course, there was Tulsa. And Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is still trying to build their communities back up, and I'll explain that in a moment too. Victims and descendants of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre have not received direct reparations from the city or the state. While lawsuits have been filed, they've been unsuccessful. However, in June of 2025, Tulsa's first black mayor announced a $105 million road to repair. And this package was supposed to be privately funded. The initiative will not directly give cash payments, but will instead create a trust to invest in housing, education, and historic preservation for descendants and the community of Greenwood. Translation: I may have black skin, but I'm going to give you thoughts and prayers. I hope that's good enough. Oh, I get a little angry about this. This is why Pip is sitting in the chat going, okay, by the way, Pip, I turned off the notification. So you can call if you want to. I can't hear you. Anyway, on to East St. Louis. Let's bring it home a little bit closer for me. In the aftermath of the 1917 East St. Louis riot, they call it a riot. That's not the correct word, and I'll explain why I say that in a second too. The city paid out $400,000 through a bond issue to compensate victims of property damage. Who is running that trust? I'm going to answer what I know about that in a moment. The money was put there to compensate for property damage. This was done under a state law that requires a city to pay for damages from mob violence if the police could not protect its citizens. Although this payment was in the form of compensation, it's considered a very small amount considering the given destruction. Now, scroll back and let's go back to the Tulsa situation. They said we've compensated $105 million towards road repair by the first black mayor. Mind you, he's a talking head. He himself has no control over when and where this money will be dispersed. That's one. Number two, that was June of this year. Not last year, the year before. So we're talking less than 90 days ago, this announcement was made. And since then, I promise you, because I looked, there has not been one meeting, there has not been one committee discussion, there has not been one aldermatic conversation about where this money is, when is the intention of disbursement, and where and who benefits. Because if it's a housing investment, then are you only affording this toward families of African Americans? Because that was who the target was. But that's not being answered. Number
Carry
two.
on. I'm playing over here.
Okay, that's fine. Have fun. Okay, and forgive me, I'm on my iPad to talk to you and on my computer to grab your information. Let's scroll back to Rosewood. In 1994, they gave alleged 9 victims the money. We were never given final totals of the numbers of families that were killed in that community. Do you have the numbers?
No, I. Wait a minute. Do you hear an echo?
You're just very, very quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay, because it's not in my mic, but it does work with my plug. Okay. So we don't have the numbers of who?
I can't hear you.
We
Say it
don't have
again.
the numbers of what?
We don't have the numbers of exactly how many people were murdered in Rosewood.
Okay, let me look.
Okay. So you said, why did I give you all this gloom and doom? And think that, okay, Michelle might be right. Maybe we shouldn't have an all white township. The reason that I'm saying that this is a toxic idea goes right into the 1970s and the 1980s. And this is the one I can speak from because I lived it. Because in St. Louis, The only time you could guarantee we would have integration of races was on Sunday, if you had a church that had black and white people that came together. By the way, that almost didn't happen. Even in the community where we have Catholic churches and we have black parishioners who go to Catholic churches, they go to churches where there are very few black people and white people in the same place. There are some, but it's rare. Hi, Drea. So that is a problem. But in St. Louis, where St. Louis public schools were considered nationally ranked as some of the best schools in the nation, on the north side of the city is where the black students went. On the south side of the city is where the white students went. Those students' schools were in better condition, they had better books, they received better services. In the black community, the predominant teachers were black. In the white community, the teachers were typically white. Their degrees, most times, were average, whereas the black teachers, in order to give a better, okay, Rosewood had some have estimated as many as 200 people were killed, but an official study in 1993 placed the death toll at 8 per Britannia. Thank you. Thank you. But if 200 people on a conservative end were killed and 9 people were compensated, to quote my teenager and my young adult, that math ain't mathing.
Right. Now,
But
also for
go on.
no, Norton threw me a
Hey, Roberta.
okay. Norton sent me a thing, and I was trying to figure out where I was that I got a virus alert.
Oh,
Uh, per North St. Louis, the Catholic schools were also better than the North Side public schools. The Catholic schools were a grade above the public schools.
true. Sort of. And I say
Right?
sort of. Well, no, academically, yes, it's true. The reality of it is, in the mid and late 1970s and early 1980s, more than half of the population who went to the Catholic schools went on scholarship, because financially we are in the Carter administration at that point, and then into the Reagan administration, where economics across the board were horrible. And most difficult was for the black community. We were at 18.9% unemployment rates. I remember that
Can
number.
you
It
hear me now?
only a little.
So now I'm working with you. Okay.
Okay.
Carry on.
So
I'm glad it's your part.
you're glad it's my part. So that is where I struggled with that. And again, the reason 18.9 sticks out is because I was forced to learn that number after having a discord with a teacher about the fact that it wasn't that bad of employment. The employment rate across the St. Louis area was, I think it was 11.1, but it was 18.9 in the black community. And I kept saying that makes a significant difference when you're asking for resources from families to send to school, such as pencils and protractors and things like that. Because this is what I was being asked for, and my parents' response was, if the school wants you to have it, they'll provide it. Yeah, my parents couldn't afford it. That's the bottom line. And when I would state that, the response was, you're not asking your parents. My reply was, call my parents for me then. If I'm not doing the job, you do it. See how that works out. It didn't. And they didn't. But let's move on to something a little more global. The word white lash. I've wanted to talk about this for a good minute. VJ's mouth is moving, but no sound. It's because
I
she's
don't
laughing at
see
me.
anything.
She's laughing at me. I picked this word because I want to bridge it over to the connection of why so many people think that that person sitting at 1600 page in the master bedroom. Did you go to a Catholic school, Michelle? No, I did not. No, I did not. However, VJ did and Pip did for half of a year. So there is that. And I've had family members that have worked for the Catholic school system. I am very familiar with the diocesan and how that whole program works. And I've had plenty of friends who went to Catholic schools. No
And Dree went to a
negativity toward.
Catholic school as well.
See, and I'm sure there's probably a few more of us who did. I did not. I am a product of the St. Louis public school system. White lash is a term to describe hostile or negative reaction from some white people in social and political progress of racial and ethnic minorities. So basically, it's the rebound effect. White lash became a publicly conversational part to think about right after Obama got elected. Because in the minds of some people who weren't black, he wasn't acceptable as a president. Qualified, but not acceptable. And it boiled down to when you finish knocking off his dad's Kenyan. Okay, your grandmother's Irish. But we can't prove he's a US citizen. Prove yours first. He doesn't have a birth certificate. We all remember hearing this throughout his 8 years of presidency. He never had to verify his birth certificate. He absolutely verified his taxes. It's funny how the current person in office hasn't done that yet. And he won't, because you can't verify what doesn't exist, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, on to White Lash. When he became president, within 60 days of taking office, there were many subcommittee conversations of what do we do to stop him. And the answer was the Tea Party. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard very recently, they said we don't need more than two political parties. This country was founded on three: the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Whigs.
Me too, Chris.
Mm. White Lash was the rebound response for having a black president. This is what the Congress and the Senate did by holding party lines and refusing to do things that Obama was putting forth from the presidential status to say we need to fix the economic situation. If he said we need universal health care because too many people don't have access to health care, they said no. He said we need to move forward with the technology availability across the nation and make the internet available to everyone. They said no. Girl, do not give me going on the Tea Party. Find your own dang name. Do not hijack another. See, but this is what they do because it makes it passable. It makes it something they can appreciate. He did verify his birth certificate. Yes, you can see it in the Smithsonian. But he didn't
Maybe because they were taking everything black out of the Smithsonian.
that part.
They also took out of there that 47 had been impeached twice.
There you go. So, white lash has been average white man's response to not wanting black people to have a voice, a position of power or control. It's kind of like a rubber band. You stretch it so far, but when you let go, before it goes back to its natural shape, it coils in on itself a little bit extra. That, in essence, is what white lash is. So, I wanted to cover that. That's out the way. Now, let's talk about the fun stuff. I get excited about this part because this timeline cracks me up.
See, that's why she's up here because she gets excited about this stuff. I sit there going, "Y'all stay over there." She's like, "Well, no, we got to talk about this.
We gotta talk
Come on,
about this.
bring it on, cousin, bring it on."
Okay, so like I said, many of us have referenced that domestic person in it at 1600 as Hitler-like. Adolf Hitler's rise to power was a gradual progress that took place over more than a decade. That's important. Beginning with his entry into politics after World War One. But they put it back after. Okay, I didn't know that. Good job.
I had
Anyway,
not heard that. Thank you, Roberta.
um, his entry into politics began after World War One and culminated in the consolidation of his dictatorial control. His journey was shaped by a combination of personal experiences and political opportunism and his socioeconomic turmoil post war Germany. So let's do a timeline run because that's important. And I'm going to show you the intersection between what was happening in the United States at the same time.
I know, Roberta.
Doesn't it just make you feel like have a little mini Christmas every time you know that? Anyway, the timeline of Hitler's rise to power. 1919. After serving in the German army in World War One, Hitler is assigned to monitor the German War Party, aka DAP, a small nationalist and anti-Semitic group. Impressed by the party's message, he quickly joins and becomes a leading speaker. Pause.
Do a deep dive on his minions. Very parallel. Yeah, it is.
It is.
It
Now
is.
this is 1919. Remember what I said about when Rosewood happened? 1923,
1921,
23. Just
223.
2 years later.
Okay, and here we are in 2025, 102 years later, doing the same stuff all over again.
He who does not learn his history is doomed to repeat it. That's why I have been saying, as long as we've been doing these meetings, it is critical that you guys get physical copies of books and have access to them to share with your children and the people you need to help learn what has happened so they know what to do to avoid it continuing.
Hi, Granny D. Thank you
Hey,
for
Granny
being
D.
here.
So in 1920, the party was renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, or the Nazi Party. Hitler is put in charge of its propaganda efforts and designs the swastika for the flag.
We know about propaganda, don't we?
We do, don't we? There is also a connection between Make America Great Again and the original statement that propelled the Nazi Party, Make Germany Great Again. This man didn't think of this originally. He just stole from Mein Kampf and spit it back out at people who had never read the book. 1921, Hitler becomes the party's leader or Fuhrer after threatening to quit and solidifying his control. I'm going to cry and go home if you don't let me have my way. Can we say participation trophy?
And
Nice.
this all started because he was a German house painter and he couldn't get any work.
Yeah. And in the case of that person sitting over there on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, his tail is sitting up there crying because his daddy didn't love him enough.
Kim says Black AF History by Michael Harriot. Cannot recommend it enough. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Roberta says Make America Great Again was also Reagan campaign slogan. Reagan's the one who started this trickle down effect BS.
Exactly.
And they did not learn the first time that this did not work.
And many people who don't remember the 80s very well for whatever reason have also seemed to forget that during his time in the White House, Reagan had dementia. And Nancy and her,
Hit it.
what were they? The, what did you call those? The psychics. The psychics were running the country. They would tell her, we believe dot, 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 dot. And she'd do things like, Ron and I think we should do da da da. And then it would happen. Remember the war on drugs? Okay, 1923, Hitler attempts to seize control of the Bavarian government in a failed coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch. I may be mispronouncing that. I'm not sure. He's arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison for treason, but serves only 9 months.
Roberta, you're kidding, right? Tell me you're kidding.
She's not. I kind of hoped she'd make that parallel. 1924, while in prison, Hitler dictates his political manifesto, aka Mein Kampf. In English, that means my struggle, which outlines his ideology and future plans. Does this at all sound familiar to anyone?
Uh, Me, I'll take 2025 for 200, Alex.
Okay. Ding, 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 ding. Give her the cookie. 2025 through 2029. After his release, Hitler works to rebuild the Nazi Party, focusing on gaining power through legal, democratic means. During this period, a relative of economic stability in Germany, the party remains a fringe movement. See,
Who? You know you have to spell these things out for me.
we who have an office in the
Give
White House.
Pam second place.
Sam, definitely.
Sam gets second place. Roberta says 47 has his evangelical, and they have an office in the White House. Who?
I don't know that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I don't know. The evangelicals have a office in the White House. I don't know.
Do you
Is it
mean the
effective?
evangelicals are in charge of 47? Is that what you're trying to say?
I hope not.
She says, "Go on, Michelle."
See, I will pause for good information. Okay, wait a minute. A British TV show had a joke asking an older woman if she had seen Dimension.
When did World War II begin? 28th of June 1919. Well, she was right. Treaty of Versailles.
She wasn't wrong. Anyway, the Great Depression begins in 1929, causing economic crisis and widespread unemployment in Germany. This creates a fertile environment for the Nazi Party's message, which he blames the Weimar Republic and promises a stronger Germany. Now, why did I tie all of that in? And I've got 2 more points for you. I tied all of that in because remember what I said about Michelle? How does Putin play into 2025? Keep in mind, the person who's sitting in the White House right now may have U.S. status, but he himself doesn't have an independent brain enough to come up with that. Outside influences. Okay, wait a minute. Pip said, definitely in charge of 47. They're working to change the laws around the age of consent. Exactly. Um, little blonde female. Okay, confusion.
That's to Roberta.
Okay,
Yes,
yes, Chris.
Christian nationalists are the authors of Project 2025 and are the power behind the Orange Menace.
Exactly.
You I know that, right? But I didn't put the two together. I know about him over here, I know about them over there, but I did not blend them together,
Yes. Now,
which is why Michelle is doing this one.
now, remember I told you that East St. Louis happened in 2017. I'm a big proponent in test pattern activity. East St. Louis is in the middle of the country where anything that has a reverberation can be controlled. We had a middle of the country black populace having economic control of their community. So it was crushed. The one thing you need to understand about geography of that is East St. Louis is right on the Mississippi River. The police were blocking the bridges so people could not escape. They surrounded the community to kill them. Today, East St. Louis, and you can ask VJ or anyone else in this area, when we drive through East St. Louis, what is the instruction we are given?
Keep going, do not stop.
You roll
Gas
your,
up before you go.
you roll your windows up, you lock your doors, you don't stop at a stop sign or a stoplight, take the ticket. It's cheaper than dying.
My great grandmother had a house in East St. Louis, not too far from the river. I always thought it was a shack and that East St. Louis was a backwoods alley. I'm just hearing about what East St. Louis used to be and that it was destroyed because it has yet to build itself up. My cousin just had his funeral in East St. Louis in June, and I seriously thought about not going. I am that against. Michelle will tell you, VJ does not cross the bridge for anybody. And to have to cross the bridge for number one and go to East St. Louis for number two, I was not getting warm and fuzzy about it.
No.
My After I got into it, they are starting to build it up, but it's still not someplace I would like to spend the night.
So the reason I bring all of this up, exactly, Roberta, sundown towns. The cross section of the idea of white communities having their white only space is a sundown town that's 24 hours a day. One thing about sundown towns that needs to be understood is when the sun is up, no matter what your race, you can go into that community, you can populate, you can communicate, you can conduct business. But when the sun goes down, if you're brown, get out of town. It's just
Shelley, I agree with you.
East St.
In my
Louis.
opinion, those radicals are always hypocrites. How many of those evangelicals on the Epstein list? And that's why they don't want to release it. I know it's true. Yep, it's a daytime town. I don't want to go over there in the daytime.
And
Roberta says, Shelley, I think many Supremes are on that list. That's possible too.
oh yeah.
Crystal says, I grew up in the bad side of town, but not metropolitan town. But when you get to know the folks, they were good people. Just poverty has its fangs in the area. I understand. Yeah, yep, I agree. I agree.
I want
There
to.
is an app that shows sundown cities.
Yeah, you can literally.
Really?
Oh yeah, and in fact, it's simpler than that. You don't have to download the app. It's called Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever. Type in sundown towns by state. It will break them down.
Oh my. Roberta says Thomas Allison Roberts and the I Love Beer guy.
You just need to listen to all those accusations from 47 and his buddies. How the Dems and his buddies are okay. Accusations and confessions and
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
the,
exactly.
the Green Book
Kim
is still a
says the
thing.
Green Book is still a thing.
The fact that we had to have a Green Book, and for those people who don't know what the Green Book was, it was a, a handbook for black people to travel safely, to know what hotels or homes they could stop at and rent a room or get a meal, because we were not allowed to go to every hotel or motel and get a place to stay.
Shelly, you would not notice any difference because they would not treat you any differently. Even
Exactly.
if you were there overnight, you would not be treated any differently. They still exist, even sundown signs gone. Oh, the
Yeah.
signs are gone?
Um,
Tim says
Cairo,
also,
Illinois.
I've been to a town that definitely that didn't know as definitely a sun up and sundown town. Ooh. Shelly's not going to see any difference. Oh, that is definitely okay.
I've
Crystal
got to
says, Shelly,
unplug
if
my
you choose
mic.
to bring a friend you trust and keep a tracker on your phone. Crystal, it would be like you going. They wouldn't treat you any differently either. Shelly
No.
says, ma'am, I'm the one they open up to because I'm safe. She's right.
Mhm.
She's right.
I am going to have to plug up my iPad, so you're losing my voice a little bit. I'll just talk louder.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
No,
no, no,
well, it's fine, Roberta. We're here for the discussion. I asked her in the beginning how
no. Which
she
way?
wanted to do this, if she wanted to do questions during or if she wanted to do questions after, and she
Questions
said
during.
whatever.
Questions during is just fine with me. Bear with me while I plug this up. Okay, there. That's why I want to go. I can get a real temperature. Shelly, even when you think you've got a temperature, you don't. You'd have to have somebody with you who has a permanent tan, who can tell you, this ain't safe. No, I may get treated badly just because I can't control my facial expressions. I can't either. That's why I stay home. So, wait a minute, a white person can go into a sundown town and have zero problems unless they have a person of color with them. Again, they won't have a problem. The person of color will. And that's very different. Being adjacent to a violent situation is not experiencing the violent situation. You're just a witness. You can be an ally, but if you're not on the front line, it's kind of like if I spanked a kid. If I spank my kid knows what that spanking feels like. The other kid saw it and knows they don't want to do what that kid did to make me spank them. That's how I see that. Okay. And we talked about the 25 through 29. After his release, he rebuilt the Nazi Party, focusing on gaining power through legal democratic means. During this period of relative economic stability in Germany, the power remained a fringe movement. In 1929, the Great Depression begins, causing economic crisis and widespread unemployment in Germany. This creates a fertile environment for the Nazi Party's message, which blames the Weimar Republic and promises a stronger Germany. 1 year later, in 1930, the Nazi Party has its first major electoral breakthrough, winning 18% of the vote in the national parliament elections. In 1932, the Nazi Party becomes the largest it has ever been in the German parliament through, scrolls down because you have more information. They do not have a majority. Hitler runs for president but loses to the incumbent Paul von Hindenburg. That sounds familiar. After a series of political negotiations, Hindenburg appoints Hitler as the Chancellor of Germany after he and other conservative liberals believes they can control Hitler. Meaning, I'm going to give him just enough that it should keep him busy and happy, and he won't want more. They gave some dumb dumb a TV, or correction, a TV show. And yeah, they put him on
That's
Front
because
Street.
he was going bankrupt again, and they said that was a way for him to earn some money.
It wasn't just a way to earn him money, it was to appease him, to make him feel seen, heard, and appreciated. But if anyone remembers the very first year of his show, it was a white man and a black man that were the final two contestants. If you looked at them on paper, the black man was the standout. He had succeeded and done more than his counterpart. But Trump threatened not to show up for the last taping if they said the black man won.
And he said nobody would believe that the black man won. Kim, you're correct. In She says I have to disagree. A white person who is with a black person could very well be in danger. Ever heard of an in lover? That's true.
That's true.
Both of you are right. Depends upon where you are,
Yeah.
because my husband and I were in southern Missouri, someplace. No, we weren't. We were out in around. It was a Civil War area place in Missouri, and somebody. We were sitting at a stop sign, and somebody walked by and said, "Keep moving." Crystal grew up in Tennessee, but a poverty stricken town, and in the South, that is where you find the most diversity. So I didn't understand things until a friend of mine got accused of stealing POC for no reason. And I want to go back and address what Sam had said a little bit earlier, because it is and it isn't. Sam says, I am sure Dinky will concur with me. I'm always flabbergasted by how the U.S. treats races not white. In the UK, where I was partly raised, we have no division, and to treat others differently based on skin wasn't usual. I found that very unusual with watching British shows and restaurants and whatnot. But when the English came over here and they were buying land, they did not have any problem with enslaving people. So it's a different mindset in the UK, but you bring those same people over here to the US, be, because number one, the US was founded as a penal colony. So they ran out of room in the jails, they sent the criminals over here. People who had money came over here, and they would bring in indentured servants to work and work their land. And at one point in the US, if you brought over a person and they worked for you for so many years, you would get so much more land. Well, then they found out that the kids were growing up, they didn't want to stay on the land, they couldn't work all this land, so then they started bringing over the blacks. Same people, but they crossed the ocean, and what happened? We are the consequences of their actions, and they are unhappy because they would so love to send us back, but since they destroyed our history, they can't prove where we came from. They can't send us back because they don't know. We don't know. And the family that we have across the pond, they don't know. So
And
we
they
ain't
don't
going
claim us.
nowhere.
Going to our
Uh,
timeline. Are you ready?
you're not letting it go? Okay. Crystal says, Kim, been called that many times here and always thought, and Roberta says the UK, before it was UK, had slavery, but it was banned long before the US even acknowledged that it was bad.
True.
Sam says, yeah, seen in the UK, slavery was outlawed, but wasn't in the US. So many of the rich took advantage of that fact. The minority, but yes, it did happen.
Yeah.
Jennifer says the only difference I can think of was the Windrush period, where black people were not wanted after World War II, but I hope we have overcome that now. 47 is taking us back. Shelley says, I was banned by the UK, but they continued to participate in the trade, legal or not. It was banned in the UK, but they continued to participate in the trade, legal or not. Even here in the States, once it got to the point where it was illegal to bring people in, they started breeding farms so that
Breeder
they
farm.
could still increase the population.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, Michelle,
Okay.
Hitler was using the laws to overtake the government.
Of course, like I said, they give him a parcel of political position. And on January 30th, 1933, after a series of political negotiations, President von Hindenburg appoints Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. I covered that. They believe they can control him. January 27th, 1933. Now, mind you, this is less than 30 days later. The Reichstag building is set fire. Hitler and the Nazis blame communist conspiracy and use this event to pressure Hindenburg into issuing a fire decree or a Reichstag fire decree. The decree suspends civil liberties, allowing the Nazis to arrest political opponents and consolidate power. Parallel, all of a sudden, we're getting rid of the equal positioning of blacks and whites in this community. And I'm not going to call it minorities versus the non-minority. We're going to call them just black and white because everything comes down to that in this child's mind. With that in mind, we blame the planes falling out of the sky on the fact that, you have all these people who are unqualified for the job. Okay.
So is the one on Pennsylvania Avenue.
But moreover, how did you suddenly become unqualified after January 20th? But you've been doing the job for 10 years before and planes weren't falling. Can we see where it might have been orchestrated for a political event? And I just
Yeah.
said that one of the fire decrees included the suspending of civil liberties, allowing Nazis to arrest political opponents and consolidate power. Does anybody notice what's been happening in California? Remember the build the wall? All of a sudden, we're shooting people off to other countries because they're allegedly illegal. They're aliens. They got to go. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're taking away our government jobs. And you blacks should be upset too because they're taking away the black jobs. Yet we've never actually heard the definition of a black job. Onward to our list.
We know what the black jobs are.
Yeah, I'm
Because
unqualified.
the Nebraska farmers have already asked, why aren't the blacks working on their farms? They need farm hands.
Uh-huh.
I ain't the one.
I ain't the two. I'm allergic to the sun. February 27th, like I said, has been covered. March 23rd, 1933. Again, less than 30 days later, the Reichstag passes the Enabling Act. Sorry, guys. Giving the Chancellor of
Right.
power to enact laws without parliamentary approval. This effectively makes Hitler the dictator of Germany. Parallel, if Trump is allowed to state that we're and he's doing an active war, they can't remove him from his position as the president, no matter what. And he has carte blanche to move all resources of the military, both those in the Army, Navy, Marines and such, but also all the National Guard positions suddenly fall under his direct instruction.
Shelley, they were invaded as well. Shelley says, I wonder how France and other countries were right next door after World War One and watched Germany become increasingly militarized.
They
Their
were
standing
invaded.
army numbers were insane.
Yes. Hey, Ola Joe.
Hey sis, just got back from jury duty. Your live is canceled. Okay, sis, thank you so much for letting me know. Because I've
Thank
got
you.
you over here on the other tab. I kept checking back to make sure that we didn't run into your time. I'm glad they didn't sequester you and make you spend the night.
Yes. Woohoo! Tell Mr. Sailor hello, by the way. Okay, now we just discussed the Enabling Act. We'll move forward and give you a little breather on that timeline. How about August 2nd, 1934? Following President Hindenburg's death, Hitler merges the roles of chancellor and president, declaring himself Führer, aka leader, and the Reich chancellor with his army swearing an oath of loyalty to him personally. Now, let's talk about the factors that shaped Hitler's point of view. And you might be saying, but this man is dead. Why are we talking about it? If you don't know the history and how it happened, you can't interrupt the current history that is happening. And we need to interrupt it. Several key things caused the shape of the worldview from Hitler's point of view. His failure as an artist. Remember, he designed the swastika? Artist. As a young man in Vienna, Hitler failed twice to get into the Academy of Fine Arts. This rejection, coupled with his impoverished and isolated life, fostered a sense of bitterness and resentment. Pause. Somebody else we know is not the firstborn son and does not have the same means and resources that older brother has. He forever in his life found himself being the butt of the jokes in the family and a lesser loved child, always seeking the approval and agreement from his father. Doesn't get it. Isn't loved by his mother, who said out of her own mouth, I hope he never goes into politics. And I wish I had that video available. Um, I'm going to I can't turn on access to
Do
my
you
phone.
want that one?
Can you find that video?
I'll look.
Okay, great. Um, while he later claimed he was an anti-Semitic view, while his while he later claimed this when his anti-Semitic views formed, some historians argue that it's more about establishing a myth. I love a good parallel, Roberta. Exposure to anti-Semitism in Vienna. During his time in Vienna, Hitler is exposed to the city's popular mayor, Karl Luger. Doesn't that name sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Who used anti Semitic rhetoric to gain political support. The city was a hotbed for extreme nationalism and racial theories, which heavily influenced Hitler's developing worldview. Wasn't Hitler's mother Jewish? Yes. Yes. But the person sitting over there in that office that we were just talking about doesn't like people who aren't Americans. Yet he has only married one person born on U.S. soil. Make it make sense. Make the math. But finally, on that point, World War I and the stab in the back myth. There it is. Can you either read it
I
out?
am. I'm working on it.
Okay. Um, while she's
Yes,
doing
he's
that.
an idiot with zero common sense and no social skills, but he is my son. I just hope he never gets into politics. He'd be a disaster. So says Marianne Trump.
And the wild part is there is audio of that, so he can't even say she didn't actually say that. That's fake news. But no, it's not because we have the audio of her actually saying it. World War I and the stab in the back myth. Hitler's experience as a soldier in World War I deeply affected him. When Germany surrendered, he, like many other Germans, believed the army stabbed him in the back by traitors at home, particularly Jews and communists. This myth, and there's this big word here that I cannot pronounce, and I'm gonna try and butcher it, so I hope you catch
You
some
want to
of the meat.
spell it?
It's capital DOLCH
Wait a minute, slow down. DOL.
CHSTO capital BLEGENDE.
Durstoblevend.
Yeah. This myth became the central part of his political narrative. See, she does her Duolingo. Michelle does not. Oh my goodness. Post-war instability and the Treaty of Versailles. Wait a minute, let me pull it because we're on page 3 of 3. Post war instability. After the war, Germany was in a state of chaos with economic hardship and political unrest. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh reparations and territorial losses on Germany, which fueled widespread national humiliation and resentment. Hitler and the Nazi Party capitalized on this anger, promising to restore Germany's honor and power. Political climate and the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic, Germany's post World War I democratic government, was unstable and ineffective in addressing the country's crisis. Hitler exploited this weakness with the public's loss of faith in democracy, offering a vision of a strong, authoritarian state under a single leader. Okay, so remember me telling you all about white lash and why we needed to understand what it was and how we got to where we are now? White lash is essentially what the results were that caused the Weimar Republic to be unstable. Though it wasn't a white related issue, it was an issue of instability and an unstable voice coming in, speaking loudly, making those who felt unseen and unheard feel strong. So even when you saw the cracks in it, I mean, let's be realistic. What job did that man have in politics before he became the chancellor that he was? None. But they followed him blindly because he said what they wanted to hear. Go back to the time when Trump said out of his own mouth on national television, "Oh, I don't want to go into politics, but if I did, I'd go in as a Republican." Because they'll believe anything.
And I'd ruin the government from the inside. Well, we had the everybody stormed the beach of Normandy, and we lost so many U.S. soldiers. That's why we claim that we ended the war because we stormed that beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that isn't what they thought. What they taught in school. Wonder why history is starting to repeat itself. With we were not taught a lot of things. Your grandfather was one of those. I thought Patton wanted to keep going and go after Russia, everybody said no.
We see
He
this
might have.
we see this throughout history.
Pebbles bottom down play their part in it, going in and having to see that that must have been horrid. Yeah.
This is
They
where
try not to tell the truth. As Michelle said earlier, propaganda.
exactly propaganda
Patton
is a
was a bit
beautiful thing.
crazy. They all were actually. He only said the Jewish people were so sad. Well, yeah, after they came out of the concentration camps,
Yeah.
he was crazy. And I thought it was Pearl Harbor and Hiroshima that helped in the war. They dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and that helped stop the Japanese part of the war. But it was the soldiers storming the beaches in Normandy that stopped the European part of the war, if I remember that correctly. Oh, okay, from the concentration camp? Oh, poor thing. U.S. schools are so full of propaganda. It is unbelievable. Like, just straight. Remember, I always said I learned more history doing genealogy than I ever learned in school. And I went through all 4 years of college. There is a lot that was not taught in school. My grandfather was amongst the first UK troops to enter Belsen concentration camp after the war. Oh, I am so I know that gave him nightmares. That's just horrible. Just horrible. Okay. Next.
That's pretty much all I wanted to cover as far as the facts. I have
Okay.
drawn the lines from all of the history information and what the parallels are in the United States today. What I encourage each of you to do is the same way I took some time, what, maybe 20 minutes, and I used the AI resources available to us for free and typed in certain questions. The only way you're going to get authentic information is to ask the right questions. Wow.
Most people don't realize that there were several wars simultaneously happening. Yeah, that's why it was a world war because the whole world was fighting. What did Michelle mean by 24?
Oh, my computer decided to do what it wanted to do. I was still crocheting. In one of my tabs, it says 24 in the chat, and 24 has nothing to do with anything. It just exists. I forgot to take it off.
Oh my goodness, she was a teen. I'm glad she survived. That must have been devastating. The only true knowledge I got on World War II was I read heavy on it in school, trying to understand how such a thing could happen and how such a thing could happen again. I delivered meds to her and always made it my last stop so we could have tea and she could talk. Oh, Roberta, that was so sweet of you. I know she enjoyed that. Shelley says, I thought I read that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not absolutely necessary at the time. The war in Europe had ended, I thought. No.
No.
That was the only way we could get Japan out of the war,
Yeah.
was to bomb it.
What I disagree with, and this is an unpopular opinion, I say that in advance. After we bombed them, we shouldn't have rebuilt them. And I say that because we were economically unstable at that point. Being involved in the war to the degree that we were, we had taken so many financial hits that we weren't stable. And yet here we are building up another country and not working on our own situation.
I'm a good person, aren't I? I always surprise myself. Roberta, does that mean this is the end? We always try to end with a funny. Hopefully, you have
Creatures
another
did.
funny.
The creatures did.
And bringing this around to what's going on now. January the 6th, 47 would not bring, well, he was 45 then, would not bring the National Guard in to save the Capitol. But he's bringing the National Guard into D.C. because of all the crime in D.C. Although the crime is at an all time low, and the mayor says she does not need any additional help. Cash Patel said that it's at an all-time low, and he says, well, they may not need more troops, but they need more troops who know what they're doing, so we're bringing in the ones who know what they're doing.
The question is, what are they doing?
Is that our tax dollar?
It is.
Because if it is, we have to again write and say that is not what we pay taxes for. They are not having any problems in DC.
I believe
I
so.
disagree. We owe Japan for what we did. It was unfair and unnecessary.
To an extent, I don't disagree that we owed them. I disagree about when we paid them. Because if we prioritize repairing the damage we did without taking care of home, that's like you have $20 and you owe somebody 30. You give them your last 20 and you don't have $1. So now you're still upside down.
I think that if they were going to bomb over there, they should have bombed the military bases and not the town and injured all those women and children.
True.
They should have done the military bases, and I think it probably after they saw what they had done, because they had no idea what an atomic bomb would do, they felt guilty over the injuries to the women and children. So that was to salve their conscience. Crystal says the thing that blew my mind was that there were high-ranking SSR soldiers caught in the early 90s. Yeah, there were. And to throw out the homeless. They're going to take the homeless out of D.C. and find them somewhere else to live. I want to know where they're going to put them. Chris
I'm
says,
being
Michelle, is Putin our timeline Stalin?
essentially.
Sam says, I'd be worried what 47 has planned that he needs the National Guard in D.C. Something up his sleeve.
Na-
He's trying to deflect and have everybody up in arms about what's going on in D.C. so that they don't ask him about the Epstein files. The homeless are being moved to other areas, aka ghettos. But where are the ghettos? Because they're supposedly moving them out of D.C. We don't pay taxes for American soldiers to attack Americans. I second that. We don't pay that, and that's excellent. We don't pay. We sure don't.
no.
Did we tackle that ballroom last week?
Free to.
Uh, he's taking the East Wing, and
No,
he
we
is
did not.
he is making a ballroom that will hold, what is it, 900 and something people, and it's going to cost $2 million. Supposedly it's being privately funded. I don't believe that. Crystal says, Roberta, I think he plans on shipping them out with ICE. Deports who is to stop him. He is. Ah, Pebbles, some high ranking generals are refusing, and I appreciate them. they will be fired as well. On that note, who is obeying those orders? Well, Hexit was at the press conference, and Pam Bondi. And if you look at Pam's face, she is starting to look really weathered. They are actually moving them to Alligator Alcatraz and their new concentration camp being built in Indiana. I was hoping they weren't going to Alligator Alcatraz. That is not a place for homeless people. He thinks he's Mrs. Astor. Who's Mrs. Astor? You know, I'm thinking about Patty Duke. I saw something asking why the 200 mil is not being used for housing. That would be a better build houses for all those homeless that he wants out of DC instead of messing with the ballroom, messing with the East Wing. And they reopened the camp in Colorado, the Japanese internment camp. I thought they had bulldozed that. That was still there? Oh my God, have mercy, Jesus. Well, the ones who follow need to remember generals following Hitler's orders and were put on trial. It could be them as well. And saying that I was following orders is no defense.
VJ, the answer to your question of who is Mrs. Astor, Carolyn Shermharmer Astor, also simply known as the Mrs. Astor, was the undisputed queen of New York City society during the Gilded Age. She was born into a prominent family of old money Dutch aristocracy and married William Blackhouse Astor Jr., the grandson of the family patriarch John Jacob Astor, thus uniting old and new money fortunes. Would you like more? I have more.
I was not aware of the Astors. I don't know
Did
how
you
I
not
missed
watch
them.
The Gilded Age? Have you never seen Titanic?
No.
Mm.
I'm amazed Pam's cross hasn't melted and seared her skin.
I have an assignment for Pip. Pip,
Queen
in
of the Gilded Age Astors. Okay, yeah, no, I that totally over my head.
Pip
I wonder what
sent
percentage of the homeless in DC are veterans. I wonder what percentage of the homeless in DC are those who were newly unemployed through Doge. Mrs. Astor's 400. The 400 families who were the accepted old money society. Her ballroom was for 400. Oh, well, his is going to be bigger than that.
yes, and it's only
Alligator.
going to allow those that he approves of. Always snubbing the Vanderbilts. New money. I'm on a hunt. Okay, what do we
I
call?
know he had moved the people out of there, but I had not pursued it because we were dealing with something else at the time, and I forgot to go back. You think they are Pebbles? You think most of them are veterans? I'm not sure. I don't know if we have those statistics. Always snubbing the Vanderbilts. See, the Vanderbilts are the ones I know. VJ, the one in Colorado was a museum like Alcatraz, but in better shape. Okay, I knew. I did not realize. I did not remember what it was, but I thought after the war, after they released everybody, that they just dismantled the whole thing. I did not realize it was a museum. Roberta says many are veterans. We have uh, oh, the Congress is in recess for the summer. MAGAs have gone home and they're trying to tell their people that they're doing the job because they know they're going to be voted out. Texas Democrats have run away from home because they are trying to keep from having to vote on redistricting. They can't redraw the map without a quorum. And the Republicans are trying to draw the maps to break up the Democratic strongholds and get 5 more Republican seats. Greg Casar and Jasmine Crockett are two who are slated to lose their districts if the maps pass. Was it Greg Abbott? Now I can't remember who issued the order, but they have issued an arrest warrant for the Texas Democrats, and they either have to come back home, and it should have been last Friday, or Abbott is going to mark their seats as vacant so he could put his own people in their seats. But yeah, they've gotten a arrest warrant issued for them. I knew about it because I grew up there. I grew up right here. Pebble says, yes, I live close and get daily news from DMV, DC, MD, and Virginia. Okay. Sam says, I was pleased to hear that the gay man taken and put into that prison, the makeup artist, has been released from the jail, although not returned to the U.S. I'm glad they released him from jail. Now, how do we get him back to the U.S.? Crystal says, we got a job, Getmo, and that tells me they are redoing air or plumbing in Getmo. We've already spent millions of dollars on that place the first time he decided he wanted to use it. What happened to waste, fraud, and abuse?
They're wasting, they're frauding, and they're abusing. What's the confusion?
This is our second homework. And if they're redoing the Japanese internment camp, that's homework number 3. Idiots. Where's my pen? See? God almighty. So they're going to put the homeless in concentration camps.
Yes.
And we're paying for that.
And their day work will be to work on the farms of families that have bent the knee and paid the coin to 47 to make him happy. Since the blacks won't be black enough to do their jobs.
Well, okay, wait a minute. Think about this. We've got homeless in D.C. We have farmers in Nebraska who want farm workers. How about they build barracks in Nebraska and ship the homeless out there so that they have housing and a job and the farmers have workers?
Who's going to give them, the homeless, their medical care? And keep in mind, many homeless people are homeless because they have secondary issues, not just economic problems.
Who's going to give them medical issues if they're in a concentration camp?
I never agreed with them going to a concentration camp, but I'm saying it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in another.
Is it better to feed a man or teach a man how to cook for himself?
Is it better to feed a man food that he's allergic to?
And they filmed a movie there. Patty Duke was in it years ago. The movie was called If Tomorrow Never Comes. Well, at the rate we're going, it may not want tomorrow to come if he keeps coming up with these stupid ideas.
You read Sam's comment?
They better leave Jasmine alone because she is my girl. Amen. Roberta says, Sam, I think he was given a choice. Oh, really? Yeah, girl, Guantanamo Bay. Look up history tea Tim with
Tea time. I'm sorry. Tea time.
look up history tea time with Lindsay Holiday. Okay.
She breaks down historical people, particularly people who were associated with the Titanic, the Gilded Age, and things like that. And she deep dived Astor, the Vanderbilts, John Jacob, all of them. She
So
covers it
Roberta,
in.
he has thought about sending them to Nebraska to pick the crops.
Yeah.
I missed that. It was not on the blurb that I was listening to. Just found. Hold on. I have to go to YouTube. I can't do that from here.
Are you clicking that link?
The previous page
Satellite
is showing me.
analysis shows rapid dash to house migrants at Guantanamo Bay. To house migrants at Guantanamo Bay. Pebbles secondary to those running for to the shelters to avoid and escape abuse, or those people who are in mental health situations, and because they're unmedicated, they're therefore unstable and eventually 9 times out of 10 become unhoused.
Well, as they said when they were in
Pete Hegseth is traveling.
I don't want to. Okay, they're not gonna let me do this without listening to the whole thing. I'll look at it later. But Crystal put the
The link in the
thank you,
chat.
Crystal. She put it in the chat. Um, we've already spent what was it, $1 billion refurbishing Gitmo, and then they brought everybody back. Many are homeless because they have escaped some form of abuse slash abusers.
Yeah.
But some of them want to work and they can't work because they either don't have a cell phone or don't have a permanent address. Homeless shelters have no true research on those fleeing abuse.
True.
My head nearly exploded when I heard owners will be responsible.
That part.
That was in February, but any large renovation would take a while. My mother once told me as long as there is an underground, democracy will survive. I thought she was cray cray. Yeah, they have. I didn't get. I saw it, but I didn't get to hear what was going on because Dree was on the phone. There is. I think his name is Isaiah Wilson and he's in Texas. He was at the state uh, capitol. He was giving information. He was asking questions. They kept asking him, was he almost done? And he kept saying, no, I'm not done. I'm still talking. And he kept talking, and they kept asking him, was he almost done? And he kept saying, no, I'm not done. I'm talking. They went over and pulled this man up out of his seat, dragged him out of the room, and put him out the door. I, the homeless are people with mental issues, i.e., unable to hold a job, but there are jobs if there are people to help. And That's why I said put them on the farms, because even someone with mental issues could, they could find a crop that they could pick without having to be too discerning. I mean, you can cut a head of cabbage, and that wouldn't take you.
Does this include giving them the money
I would.
for the medicine they need?
Roberta says, I hear her from her grade saying, "I told you so."
So
If they would have to be housed and fed and clothed, I mean, it's like any farm labor. I'm thinking of the old time ranchers, and they had the bunk houses, and they got their food and their clothes, and they got a stipend.
are you?
That's just me. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not arguing. I'm questioning. Have you considered how much medications cost?
You're missing the point. DC doesn't have statehood, and he found out states will not put up with guard troops.
That part, Roberta, and I absolutely agree with DC. I have to turn my camera off for a minute, but I'm still here and listening.
PTSD, speaking from experience, there will be days that they need a gentler hand until they are steady on their feet.
That part.
I understand that too. Yeah. Many homeless are also older women of divorce who were housewives with no work experience or respect of our SSA system.
The problem with taking a bunch of women to places where they're expected to be farm hands is free and easy access to women when the undercurrent is to repopulate a given community.
Right.
And let's be realistic, if they'll grab them by the kitty cats, then you know darn well they will not respect their bodies or their
Mm-mm.
right to say no.
Correct. Especially if they are not as melanated as us. They're already saying the population is down. They want to repopulate.
Exactly.
Um, I'm sitting here chewing on this because we need somebody with some money who could start a foundation for women in this condition. Um, we could teach them how to knit and crochet and sew and do whatnot, and they can sell their wares, they can clothe their children, they can uh, donate to charity. uh, it'd be like that place that Granny D always gets her saris from. They do their handcrafts and sell their handcrafts to support their families or support themselves, teach them a skill. It's I don't know. It's just Crystal says, I am aware of that, Roberta, but those have a better fighting chance than some. That's true. Roberta says, VJ, it would work with the right statistics and incentives, but this government doesn't want to put that much work in. Roberta, you have a point there. I mean, you all have to remember I'm the one with the idealistic mentality. If it's not there, it just doesn't make sense in my poor little pea brain, and I'm struggling. I am really struggling. I'll be honest with you. I am struggling. Crystal says it is the broken system is that we need to give them skills, may it be coping or trade. That's true. They need coping skills, they need trade skills, they need a way to support themselves. They need what did that old commercial used to say? They don't need a handout, just a hand. If you give them a hand and give them a leg up, a lot of them would be able to succeed. Our government will either do all for you or they will do nothing for you. There is no middle ground in this government. If you just need a little assistance, you're not going to get it. If you have absolutely nothing, they will take care of you. But if you just need a little bit of help, you're on your own. I see some church groups and other organizations have done this. They supply housing in the form of mini houses. If they have an address, can they not access Medicare and Medicaid? If they're old enough, they should be, if they're old enough and if they have worked long enough, they should be able to get Medicare. I'm not going to speak on Medicaid right now because 47 just had them cut a lot of Medicaid. So I don't know anything about Medicaid. And he's trying to cut Medicare, but you know we're writing letters and fighting it tooth and nail. But yeah, if they have to have either worked long enough to have accrued enough to draw on their Medicare, or they have to be eligible for survivor benefits. If their husband passed away or their ex-husband passed away and they had not remarried, then they can get his Social Security and Medicare. Shelley says, I always thought that grocery stores should work with EBT cards like healthy meal. Here are the ingredients to promote better nutrition and a way to manage the EBT funds. I agree. I agree. Roberta says it would take funding to get off the ground. A loan from someone decent could kick it off. Where's Taylor Swift's number? We could probably write letters to the Chiefs and get her boyfriend to help out. I mean, we've got all these football players and athletes and whatnot making millions of dollars a year. We only need a couple of thousand for, a couple of truckloads of yarn and some crochet hooks. Granny can teach them to knit. Crystal says there needs to be a commune where the homeless could join if they wish and learn skills and give back through the labor they can provide. Think of old 60s communes, but with therapists and teachers. I like that idea. I like that idea. And they helped each other. And they had their little animals and their uh, crops, and they fed themselves. It's like those off the land people, but it's not just relegated to whites only.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow. Michael, welcome in, sweetheart. I'm getting to you. We had that system until Reagan got rid of it. Is that what happened to it? Hell, the homeless will soon be elderly people that were in nursing homes. These nursing homes are throwing people out. Oh my goodness. Shelley, we actually had a program like that for our young troops and families. Don't know what happened after I left. Oh, we need to find that out, Roberta, and see if we can reactivate it. Hi, Michael. Hi, Panda. How you all doing over there? Everybody saying hi to Michael. Yeah, that now I like the idea of a commune and teaching people skills and to live off the land and help them become sustainable. Roberta, it makes good sense. The dollar items were usually in those middle aisles. The government have their estimates for high, medium, low income food budgets. Danielle Spencer, D from what? What's happening? Oh. Oh. We're losing so many young people.
She was 60.
She was how old?
60.
Really?
Yeah.
We are doing good. Panda is still at work, and I'm working on something very cool. You gonna tell me that every time you see me, right? You gonna tell me about this real cool project, and you're not gonna tell me what it is. Michael, I'm gonna stop asking you how you are.
I'll
I'm
ask.
I'm, I'm gonna stop. He keeps teasing me. He knows I want to know what it is, and he's not gonna tell me. But he's gonna keep telling me I'm working on something really cool, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. Childcare tips, and once a month we had a mommy night out. A mommy night out to two bits and have drinks. Oh, two bits and have drinks. We had weekly meetings that taught budgets and meals. Oh, now that is necessary. That is necessary. Sam says, "You're just a big tease, Michael." He is. He is. This is the second cool project I will tell you. A Tunisian hexicardy.
Ooh.
Wowzers. Wowzers. Yay, Michael. Shelley says, so they should show us what they can eat on the EBT funds, prove it is enough, and end up being better eating fresh food. Yeah, because RFK wants to make America healthy again. That would be one way to do it. Many nursing homes are deciding to no longer take Medicaid due to a big, beautiful bill. Dinky Jen is back. I agree with that. Okay, we got the big, beautiful bill. Doge is throwing everybody out, but he can justify spending all that money on a ballroom. And he's only going to be there for 3.5 more years, maybe. I don't get it. I don't know why somebody just said, no, you can't do that. No, this is the wait a minute, isn't the White House the people's house? The White House doesn't belong to him. It's the people's house. Oh no, I don't agree with that. We need another petition. You know it's sad when seniors live cheaper on a cruise ship than in a home or retirement center. Yeah. That is very sad. That is very, very sad. Fresh organic foods are very expensive. Yeah, that's why, we've started. Oh, how is everybody's garden doing? I was having trouble. My seeds were in the eggshells were sprouting, but when I would transplant them, for whatever reason, they would stop growing and they died. So I took some pots out on my deck, and I realized everybody doesn't have a deck, which was why we were growing them indoors. Or if you have a balcony or something. And I sowed my seeds in the pots that I was going to keep them in and put them outside, and they're growing like gangbusters. I think maybe my AC was a little too cool for them. Even though I had them sitting in front of the patio window, and it's 75 in here, I don't have it cold. But I put them outside where it's 102 in the shade. They love it. They absolutely love it. Shelley says, Roberta, I think that is what they call being penny wise and pound foolish. I agree. I say put home ec back in the school. I said that when I was in high school back in the 70s, that they should have home ec and sewing and everything. Because my school had it and they discontinued it. And I said they should bring it back. And to this day, they have not. He has surrounded himself with yes men. That's why nobody's saying no. That's true.
Do
And
not
that's
blame
what
that
Kamala,
on YesMichelle.
and that's what Kamala said because she was on Stephen Colbert, and it was the rest of the clip that we had seen on the Wi-Fi video, and he says, Kamala, don't you want to say I told you so? And he says, I know that's not why you're here, but don't you want to say it a little bit? And she said, um, what I'll say is, yes, I predicted a lot of what is going on now, but what I did not predict, and I am really surprised at, is how complacent everybody is. We need more people to stand up and tell him no. So, yeah, we need to get around the yes people and tell him no. Michelle says, Crystal, they are trying to get rid of schools, so there is that. Oh, yes, because he likes the uneducated. Roberta says, I think when he has to turn over Trump Tower to E. Jean Carroll, turn it into low income housing. That would be good. Crystal says, Michelle, it is so frustrating, but on another note, no propaganda will breed free thinkers, so they might want to think about that. Pebble says, my balcony garden is doing well. Yay, Pebbles. Shelley says, home economics and household finance should be taught. I agree. I agree. Chris says, VJ, have you covered things RFK is doing and has done to EBT? No, I have not covered that yet. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen much on RFK lately. The last thing I saw was it Maria? Somebody was asking him about things that has cut, and he kept saying, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. And she's like, well, you signed off on all of this. He says, I'll have to look into it. So he's signing things and he has no idea what's involved in what he is signing. Sorry for all those texts, VJ. No ushers looking at them. I got home ec as a child in the 80s, but it was an elective. Yeah, they had taken it out of the school I went to. We had home ec, daughter had it too, just not called that. Something like life management, and guys took it too. Shorty had this class last year that was supposed to be first period, that when I was there for open house, the way the instructor described it, it was like home ec because they've got cooktops and water and everything in that classroom, and he was going to teach them how to, be clean about it and wash their vegetables and wash their utensils. But when it came actual school time, he just played TV shows for them. He did no hands on anything, and the TV shows that he was playing had nothing to do with cooking or food safety or food handling, prep, nothing. He had washers and dryers in there, didn't teach him anything. And I would go home, I would come home and tell my daughter, and my daughter would call the school, and the school would talk to him, and no one will stand up to him with his threats and how he will use his power to F people over. and that's the sad part. That is the sad part. People are being complacent because they know this time nobody will intervene and stop 47 shafting them. They are all scared. Uh, so they know he has free reign. I think he's still on vaccines. I have not seen anything. I have to look back when I graduated high school. It was mandatory for seniors to take. Bye, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And we've been
Thank you.
here. Ooh, we've been here an hour and 55 minutes. I'm going to end this in 5 minutes. I'm going to read the last five comments here because we all have something to do here. So, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I want to do. Michelle, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Love you,
Love
cuz.
you.
Home ec was mandatory for all seventh graders when I went through. Wow. Not up here. We learned to cook, sew, iron, grocery budget, crochet, knit, and much more. What state were you in? Were you still in was that in Texas? That's impressive. Shelley says finance, although these days kids seem to believe they will just run out and become rich on TikTok or something else completely crazy. Oh, yeah, everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to make big money being an influencer. I have to run. The baby is ready for his Miss Michelle. Sweetie. CD's shooter just learning this. One moment gonna skim articles. Yes, Michelle, I remember the field trip to the grocery store, given $10 a lot back then, and told to make a meal for four. With $10? Oh my. Yes, we love us some Michelle, and thank you so much. Texas? Wow. But they don't still have that, do they, Michael? Cad C. Shooter was disgruntled about COVID vaccine. Then don't take it. Honest to Pete. What is wrong with these people? Never mind, I know what's wrong with them. Kim says home ec and shop were mandatory for us as well. So was personal finance. All of that was junior high. I can still do it, VJ. That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you all so very, very much. I greatly appreciate you being here. I greatly appreciate the input. Again, thank you, cousin Michelle, for giving us the other side of the coin. Michael says, I don't think they do anymore. That was the late 80s, so $10 could feed a family of four for like, what, 2, 3 days? Oh my. CDAC, he shoot off 500 rounds. This is his people. My God, help. Deliver us from. Ooh. They didn't we put up a bill to stop assault rifles? Everybody, I'm not going to do a Reese Waters and tell you to go soak your feet, but everybody, go get a glass of something, stay hydrated, stay cool, and for those who can make it, I will see you over at VJ's Crochet tomorrow. So thank you all so very, very much. Give yourselves a pat on the back because you all were awesome today. I love it. Bye, cousin Shelly and Dinky Jen and Crystal, Michael, Roberta, Granny D, Sam. Oh, I gotta send you two funny videos, VJ. Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Oh, sure, y'all out and about and love you all. Stay cool and socially distance because we know what's going on out here. Bye, everybody.